Time was not spent by the AI thinking, but the human typing. So still, the human is the bottleneck. But today, with
Эй! Прикольно вообще, да.
With all the amazing voice recognition systems that we have, we don't even need to type these instructions.
Ну,
Just
аларм такой.
say what you want and it will be able to do it.
Наоборот.
So, what else can you do? For instance, type these instructions, just say what you want and it will be able to do it. So, what else can it do? For instance, it can also deal with similar requests to what software engineers are asked in interviews, and I have to say the results indicate that this AI would get hired to some places. But that's not all, it can also nail a first grade math test. An AI. Food for thought. Now, this OpenAI Codex work has been out there for a few days now, and I decided not to cover it immediately, but wait a little and see where the users take it. This is, of course, not great for views, but no matter, we are not maximizing views, we are maximizing meaning. In return, there are some examples out there in the wild. Let's look at 3 of them. 1, it can be asked to explain a piece of code, even if it is written in assembly. 2, it can create a Pong game in 30 seconds. Remember, this used to be a blockbuster Atari game, and now an AI can write it in half a minute. And yes, again, most of the half minute is taken by waiting for the human for instructions. Wow! It can also create a plugin for Blender, an amazing free 3D modeler program.
Играет он сам, что ли,
These
там?
things used to take several hours of work at the very least. And this thing plugin for the human for instructions. Wow! It can also create a plugin for Blender, an amazing free 3D modeler program. These things used to take several hours of work at the very least. And with that, I feel that what I said for GPT-3 rings even more true today. I am replacing GPT-3 with Codex and, quoting, "The main point is that working with Codex is a really peculiar process where we know that a vast body of knowledge lies within, but it only emerges if we can bring it out with properly written prompts. It almost feels like a new kind of programming that is open to everyone, even people without any programming or technical knowledge. If a computer is a bicycle for the mind, then Codex is a fighter jet." And all this progress in just 1 year. I cannot wait to see where you fellow scholars will take it and what OpenAI has in mind for just one more paper down the line. And until then, software coding might soon be a thing anyone can do. What a time to be alive! Perceptilabs is a visual API for TensorFlow carefully designed to make machine learning as intuitive as possible. This gives you a faster way to build out models with more transparency into how your model is architected, how it performs, and how to debug it. Look, it lets you toggle between the visual modeler and the code editor. It even generates visualizations for all the model variables and gives you recommendations both during modeling and training, and does all this automatically. I only wish I had a tool like this when I was working on my neural networks during my PhD years. Visit perceptilabs.com/papers to easily install the free local version of their system today. Our thanks to Perceptilabs for their support and for helping us make better videos for you. Thanks for watching and for your generous support, and I'll see you next time.
Let's check out Tazma.
Pretty impressive.
I'm so impressed with this.
Code completion on steroids.
In some areas, it writes out entire lines of code, which is really cool.
Less buggy code.
So that's really cool.
Less chance for typos.
Pretty awesome.
That's crazy awesome.
So that's pretty cool.
I found that actually it made me a far more productive and better coder because the code completion just allows you to.
It feels like it is helping me.
Unfreaking believable. Yeah, that is
Hello everyone, welcome to the OpenAI Codex live demo. Today we're going to be showing you the latest version of our model can write code. I'm Greg.
I'm Wojciech. And I'm Ilya.
Before we get started, I want to talk to you a little bit about how we got here. So a year ago, we released GPT-3, which is a general purpose language model. It could basically do any language task you would ask it. So the thing that was funny for us was to see that the applications that most captured people's imaginations, the ones that most inspired people, were the programming applications. Because we didn't make that model to be good at coding at all. And so we knew if we put in some effort, we could probably make something happen. So Wojciech and the team sat down to really make it reality.
So actually, that was a quarter of company being involved in the effort. I bounced ideas with Ilya for a year, and actually even in reality for multiple years we're dreaming about models that can code. And Greg personally, he was babysitting this model. So when we started, we created a benchmark. On our benchmark, despite the fact that GPT-3 had some rudimentary coding capability, it achieved 0% accuracy. In the meanwhile, we got to the models that can, in 27%, write entire multiple lines of code and solve our coding benchmarks. Today, we are presenting models that solves 37% of problems. But of course, these are just the raw numbers. How does it feel? You're gonna see today.
And before we jump into the demos, I want to talk about how you can get access to Codex. And that's really the point of this demonstration. We want to help inspire people to see the kinds of things that Codex can do. And we know that we're actually just scratching the surface of what's possible, so we actually really need your help to really dive deep into this model. So the first announcement of the day is that starting today, the Codex model will be available in OpenAI API. So we're going to be doing a beta. Please go and sign up. Get on that wait list. We're going to go and scale up as quickly as we can and try to get this out to everyone. So the second way that you can get access to Codex is we're going to be hosting a new kind of programming competition. This will be held on Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific. Everyone's going to get access to Codex as their teammate. It will also be a competitor on the leaderboard. So it'll be really interesting to see what it's like to work with Codex. Everyone's going to be able to play with it and be able to really experience the kinds of things we're showing you today. So please show up. It's going to be a lot of fun and I think a very unique event. So all right, let's get started with the demos.
Oh, thank you, friends. Have fun.
All right, see you later, Wojciech. All right, hello, Greg.
Hey, Ilya.
So you have a coding demo,
We do. So there's only one way to start a coding demo.
and that is hello world.
All right, of course.
So what you see here is that Greg is typing say hello world into the text box. Now if you press the green play button, the model will produce the code, and then you'll see its output below.
And so, exactly right. So what you're seeing here is a simple interface we built on top of the Codex API. So everything you're going to see today is just using the same API everyone's going to get access to. So you could build the exact same thing. So this very simple interface, all that we do is we format the instruction to the model, and we happen to format it a little bit like a Python doc string, so that it looks a little bit like a comment. The model generates code, which we then just execute, and the output is displayed here. So as a user of this kind of system, you just kind of ask the computer to do something, and it actually does it.
Well, it looks like you did a good job with hello world, but let's make it a little bit more complicated. Let's say hello world with empathy.
Say hello world with empathy. Interesting.
Yes.
All right.
It's just a slightly ambiguous instruction.
Do you know what you would say to this?
I mean, I can think of multiple things. I want to know what the model is.
All right, let's see what happens. I think that's actually a very reasonable choice. And you can ask the model, you can modify your instructions to the model as well. So the kind of thing that you can do is you can also ask it for information that is kind of stored in a session. So now I'm going to say, instead of saying hello world with empathy, I'm going to say it with empathy. And again, the model is kind of free to make a choice of what it wants to do with that. In this case, it decided to do the same thing, which I think is a reasonable choice. It formatted the code a little bit differently, but fundamentally, if you notice, it now has to kind of back reference to the previous part of the conversation. And under the hood, this is just a single request to the Codex API that we're formatting just like you would a GPT-3 request. So it's almost like a chat session of human model, and so forth.
So it looks like the model did a satisfactory job with saying hello world with empathy, but could it say it 5 times?
Okay. Now, that's an awful lot of empathy.
I think it did not a bad job, but it's not quite exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be hello world with empathy, with each one of those things appearing on a new line.
Now, if you want to look at the code, you can. That's the great thing about a model like this, is it's very interpretable. And so you can actually look and see, hey, this just did print where it multiplied by 5. So you couldn't say, instead say, now instead, do it with a for loop. Which again starts to be a lot of back referencing. But there we go. Is that what you wanted?
It also did what I wanted as a byproduct, in addition to doing it with the for loop. So I'd say it's not a bad start for a hello world demo.
Yes.
But I think we can go further.
All right.
We should say exponentially more hello worlds
How
by
do you want
making
that?
we should make a web page.
You've got to make a web page if we really want to broadcast our message of hello world to the world. So first of all, make a web page that says, let's say, our message, and save it to a file.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Here's
a
what
little
it will
bit
do.
tricky, taking a little bit of risk here.
It worked.
There we go. So if you notice, if you can see the code, it's actually writing Python that then emits some HTML. And that's, again, one of the powers of this model, is it's a single model that's proficient in over a dozen programming languages. And that means it can kind of just seamlessly figure out, okay, I'm supposed to do an HTML here, or if you want to translate from one language to another, it's quite good at that. And I think this shows you why you really want all of that capability in a single model.
Okay. So is that all we need for a web page?
Well, we should probably let people see the web page.
Seems like a good idea.
All right, so let's start a Python web server to serve that page. Let's give that a try.
It looks like pretty complicated specialized code.
Yes, so let's actually take a look. So we have web server running on port 8000. So we'll take a look. Oh, it's 8000, excuse me. And there we go. Hello world with empathy.
Oh, I would say it's a success.
I think it's a success, yes. So this is the first time we've ever generated this particular message, so we actually didn't know what it's going to say. So you know that this particular web page was in fact generated just now on the fly for all you viewers out there.
I think that was nice to say hello world with a web page, but we should go further still.
I think we should. And so, first of all, I do want to point out that this particular example of writing a Python web server is something I've done a dozen, 2 dozen times, and I still never remember how to do it. Because between Python 2 and Python 3, the exact structure of the modules changed, that you have to create this handler object, you pass it to a TCP server, that you pass the address here and the port, and oh yeah, your address would be an empty string if you want, and then you do serve forever, and it's complicated. And this kind of stuff is not the fun part of programming, right? The fun part of programming, I'd say programming is kind of two things. One is understand the problem, and that includes talking to your users, that includes thinking super hard about it and decomposing it in smaller pieces. This is the really cognitive aspects of building something. And then there's a second piece, which is map a small piece of functionality to code, right? Whether it's an existing library, an existing function, whether it's in your own code base or out there in the world. And that second part is where this model really shines. I think it's better than I am at it, because it really has seen the whole universe of how people use code. You should think of it as a model that's, GPT was trained on all the text out there. This model's been trained on all the text and all the
Ну,
public
понимаешь,
code.
ну вот я тоже, понимает, он о себе так думал тоже. Да.
So it really, I think,
But
accelerates me as a programmer and takes away the boring stuff so I can focus on the fun ones.
Okay, so that is a working web page that you got, but wouldn't it be nice if you could send
Мне тоже не
lots of emails with hello world to everyone who is listening to us on the live stream?
Yes, so here's a moment for everyone to participate. So if you would like to receive an email as part of this demo from Codex, I think that we should be posting a link to sign up into the chat now. It should also be displayed on the screen, so please go ahead and sign up, and we'll give you a moment to do that.
And while we are waiting for you to sign up, I want to point out how insane it is that what we are showing to you works at all. It is fundamentally impossible to build such a system except by training a large neural network to do really good code autocomplete. That's all we did. It is really simple conceptually, although perhaps not in practice, to just set up a large neural network, which is a large digital brain, which has a mathematically sound learning procedure. And that part can be understood, and it is relatively simple. And then you make it work. You make the neural network big, you train it on code autocomplete. And by being good enough at code autocomplete, we get the capabilities that you see here. It actually reads all the letters, all the words that we are giving it. It chews and digests them inside of its neural activations, inside of its neurons. And then it emits the code that we see. And because the autocomplete is so accurate, the code actually runs, and it runs correctly.
So now, let's show you how to hook Codex up to sending email. So we're going to be using the MailChimp API in order to do this. And Codex, again, has seen all the public code out there, but I wanted to use my MailChimp account, and maybe I have a particular way that I want to call the API.
Наоборот,
So
это
it's very
да.
easy to give Codex new capabilities almost the same way that you explain to a programmer how to use a new method. You can do the same thing for Codex. And so I want to show you the only magic that's going on here is that we have this plugin where on the left is instructions for humans, and we can take a look at the actual code that is supposed to be installed on our system. It's just a very simple wrapper around the MailChimp API where I plugged in the API key already. And now we can simply take this documentation written in very readable form and paste it to the model.
So literally just those 3 lines of text. Is it not?
Кто я? Я. Ладно. Это что такое сейчас было?